Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Healthy Enterprise podcast. If you've been here before, I want to thank you for coming back. And if it's your first time, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. It should be very interesting. My guest today is Dr. Harsha Rajasimha. He is a biotech entrepreneur, scientist, and patient advocate. He is the founder and CEO of Jeeva Clinical Trials, an AI-driven platform streamlining global clinical trials for a much-needed efficiency and accessibility. He also leads the Indo-US Organization for Rare Diseases, advancing cross-border collaboration to support patients with rare conditions. Motivated by a personal loss, Harsha brings over 20 years of experience in precision medicine, genomics, and health tech, with affiliations at NIH, FDA, and George Mason University. Please welcome my guest, Dr. Harsha Rajasimha. Hello, Harsha. Thank you for joining me today on this episode. I'm looking forward to our call today. So welcome. Why don't you give our listeners an introduction of yourself and Jeeva Clinicals?
Thank you, Heath. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Harsha Rajasimha. I'm the founder of Jeeva Clinical Trials. I'm located in Northern Virginia. I'm a postdoctoral data scientist by training with a computational biology background. Spent a few years at National Institutes of Health, FDA, consulted with the big pharma for a few years in the clinical R&D space, and saw firsthand the various inefficiencies in the infrastructure supporting clinical trials, and saw why it's so expensive, manual, burdensome, and slow. So decided to address that barrier and bottleneck. Along the journey, I also became a father of a child to a child with a rare disease, and lost a younger brother to juvenile diabetes. And those personal and professional experiences inspired me to make a difference. So I founded Jiva about 6 years ago, and we have what we have done is built a new infrastructure that takes advantage of AI in the modern technology stack and architecture, to essentially make clinical trials more faster, efficient, less manual, and more automated, to take full advantage of the technology that's available today, which the legacy systems that were originally built to move from paper to electronic data capture in 15 years ago, no longer serve the purpose of today. And this day and age is demanding a lot of efficiency, in terms of cost and time. And AI does help in that regard, but the infrastructure can't be a broken infrastructure built on stitching together 15 disparate tools that don't necessarily talk to each other. And so a lot of effort goes into integration, interoperability, and connecting them in a process which is quite complex, and it can vary from trial to trial. And so what we have is a scalable and efficient process automation platform that we built at Jiva. So that's what we do.
So, and there's probably several people who understand, listeners that understand the clinical trial process and where that fits in the development of medicines and pharmaceuticals, right? Maybe can you just give us sort of an insider look at what the clinical trial process typically looks like and how long that normally takes?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking. Clinical trials are an essential part of drug development or any kind of medical device or therapy development process to take it through the regulatory review process. And so typically, the traditional trials involve phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And on an average, all these three phases are necessary to complete before the drug is submitted to the FDA with all the data for review and approval. And this entire process of first in human trial through regulatory submission and review process can take 8 to 10 years. And so that's quite a long period of time when patients are waiting, especially with severe diseases like rare diseases where children don't live past their 5th birthday. And so there is a massive need for speeding up that process, including with the novel trial design where the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 are not necessarily a requirement, where there is opportunity to speed up this with basket trials, umbrella trials, and new trial designs, which can speed up the timelines, but also often the operational and logistical burden of patient recruitment. In a specific clinical trial, there has to be these critical steps, which is
Mm-hmm.
one, having a finalized protocol which is approved by either the FDA or a regulatory body, or IRB or institutional review boards and ethics committee. So having that finalized approved protocol and informed consent form is a initial prerequisite, and then having principal investigator sites that are set up to enroll patients, and having enough patients to enroll who meet the eligibility criteria to get the study started. And then there is data that has to be captured, which is of high integrity and high quality. And finally, once all the patients have been enrolled, all the data has been captured, typically over a 9-month duration in a phase 1 trial, 18-month average duration in a phase 2, and about 36-month average duration in phase 3. Then there is biostatistical data analysis to assess the safety and the efficacy of the drug. And this entire package has to be standardized in regulatory standard data formats, and then submitted to the FDA. And so that's the full process. Now, this process, there is a lot of opportunity to make it efficient, especially with the modern technologies and AI. And that's the infrastructure that we built to make this process be as automated as possible without removing human in the loop, which is critical regulatory expertise, data expertise, clinical expertise that has to do the review and validation every step of the process. But the process itself is quite manual and routine, mundane, repetitive tasks that a robot or an AI agent is adept at doing better with little or no errors once it's trained properly. And so that's the opportunity that we have tapped into over the last few years, and well positioned with this modern infrastructure that's designed to take full advantage of AI.
Wow. And so by using your tool, the software, that allows so all these various participants and bodies, organizations, people that have to participate in that process can all use this software, and they're all working from this centralized hub. Is that correct?
You said it right. And although we primarily help the emerging biotech, pharma, med device sponsors who do not necessarily specialize in information technology, software, and data, they come with a chemistry, biochemistry, molecular biology
Yeah, they're the
background.
scientists.
They are
Yeah.
the scientists.
Yeah.
And we bring the data infrastructure and manage the operations. Typically, they usually outsource this to a contract research organization or a
Right.
CRO that have a complex infrastructure that they put together, usually borrowing 15 to 30 different vendors and third-party tools that are independently designed, and they keep updating their versions. And so an infrastructure like that can at best apply AI as a band-aid. There is an AI for this
Right.
tool, another 15 band-aids for 15 tools. Whereas with the unified platform, that need not be in that way. So there's an architectural difference, and the fundamental infrastructure unification of the process drives a significant simplicity, reduces the complexity of the process, and then automating only makes it better and better.
Well, and then it's contained too, right? And easier to mitigate any risks, privacy breaches, cyber attacks, or
Absolutely.
just failure, or relying on all these different subscriptions or software companies to keep updating, so they're integrating properly and communicating. That's a lot. So to be able to contain it into one, I mean, it's a brilliant idea.
Exactly. And so these different tools validating that they comply with data security, HIPAA, GDPR, FDA regulations. There is a long list of regulatory requirements that have to be verified with every single tool involved in the clinical trial process. it only makes sense to reduce that complexity and have only one unified platform to verify and maintain the security of. So it's easy to guard one
Yeah.
location than 15 different
Yeah.
vulnerabilities.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense. Why has no one come up with this yet?
So, although it may seem like it's a no-brainer, the evolution of clinical trial process and infrastructure over the years has been incremental, right? And so
Yeah.
when the first came up with electronic data capture, then a clinical trial management
Right.
system, then during the pandemic, there has been a deluge of digital health apps and for patient-reported outcomes, for
Right.
televisits, remote patient monitoring,
Right.
remote electronic signatures, and e-consent. So, it was easy to go on adding one tool here, another tool for e-signatures, another tool for televisits, video visits, and so now the infrastructure has organically grown to be so complex. Now, trying to wrap AI around this whole machinery is not only difficult, impossible in a way, just because there are too many moving parts. So
Yeah.
the moment you feel like you got it all in control, somebody releases a new version and the workflow breaks.
Everything breaks. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that happens just on their basic website
Exactly.
every other month. Never mind an intricate system like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. So, how much, conceivably, how much time is this going to save the process? Is it half time? Is it more,
So
less?
we have our oldest customers started 4 years ago with a pharmaceutical clinical trial that's still ongoing. They completed phase 1, phase 2A, 2B, and ongoing trials. So we haven't really been around for 8-9 years to measure the full life cycle yet.
Right.
But we estimate 8 to 9 months of savings in a phase 3
Wow.
clinical trial, which typically takes anywhere from 3 to 5 years. If we can knock off 9 months from that phase 3, that's
That's
huge.
significant. Yeah.
In fact, every day can be quite crucial and can cost hundreds of thousands or even millions per every day that gets delayed.
Right, because at this stage they don't even know if if it's going to work. They're it you know
Exactly.
these are a lot of these are pharmaceuticals that have really great intentions, and they've got vision, and it's to help somebody somewhere along the line, but it hasn't been proven yet. So it's a huge investment, like you said, financially and time investment. Like so to be able to speed that up, because they don't always end there. If it doesn't get through that phase, they got to go back and start all over again, right?
Exactly. And so knowing whether a drug works or not faster, even if it's not, if it's a negative, it's still a success because we found out sooner rather than later.
Right.
We found that out with less money and less time than investing hundreds of millions and then figuring out quite late in the game.
Yeah. And the some of the obvious pushback might be, I said it before, risk of privacy, risk of information getting out to somebody that doesn't need it. Do you kind of get a lot of when you bring up the word AI, it's like, well, people are going to lose their jobs, someone's going to lose the information. Is there any other pushback that you hear from people in the industry?
Not really. I mean, we are still just about to launch the first couple AI agents this year in fall. So it's under development. But overall, the platform efficiency is already significant compared to the current standard, which is because of the unification of the process in one centralized platform.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the user interfaces that we designed, taking very serious note of what the users expect and what their anticipated process looks like, and designing user interfaces that are easy and do it yourself with zero programming, because still a lot of statistical programming, data management, edit checks are done with traditional EDC systems that require technical understanding and programming to an extent, even if it's data processing and Excel and Python scripts. We don't need any of that. So it's all user interface driven.
Amazing.
Non-technical person can run this, and the subject matter experts in clinical, medical affairs, clinical operations can manage the interface quite with little or no training even. Although our team is always available to support our end users as much as they need to uh, perform their activities and tasks. And they love that they can see patient recruitment, data management, trial scheduling, digital patient engagement, everything in one place. They are like, wow, this is groundbreaking for them already, although in the technical sense, it's not rocket science. I think launching these AI agents later this year is going to make it even better, right? And so AI or no AI, the regulations remain the same in the sense like data security, privacy concerns, the checklist to verify um, what how secure the platform is still intact. And so we continue to meet all those 21 CFR Part 11, HIPAA, GDPR, good clinical practice, and various SOC 2, Type 1, Type 2, and various other requirements. We are built on the AWS cloud, and AWS provides certain inbuilt features to monitor the performance, security, and architectural soundness, which we started right from ground zero, what they call foundational technical review and well-architected framework review. So having maintaining all that is a given, whether we use AI or not, and we continue to do that. And the key thing is not to expose the clinical trial data to public models of large language models and such, which absolutely is not going to happen. And we make sure whatever we do, the data is secure and protected, and we bring AI tools to the data, and it's safe and secure in that sense.
Now you said a phrase, AI agent. So can you, for those that maybe don't necessarily know what an AI agent is, because that's a relatively new term, explain what an AI agent actually is, because you're rolling out 2 of them, you said soon. So explain what that is.
Thank you for asking, Heath. Absolutely, it's a new buzzword, but also a real deal in that AI has evolved from machine learning and AI kind of go synonymous, but they are somewhat different. And with AI, there is Chat GPT or Open AI and large language models, which came up with this ability to read and produce content, right? Textual content and so on, what the so-called generative AI, right? And as that has evolved into various other advanced AI tools, and one of them is AI agent, which is a huge opportunity for the whole AI industry in across various industry verticals, where agents perform tasks and they learn from performing the task and keep getting better and better, and they are good at performing repetitive tasks and human redundant mundane tasks that humans get bored and tend to make mistakes, but these
Right.
AI agents don't, and they actually get better and better the more they perform. But these AI agents essentially can replace the human activity to a great extent, and that's the opportunity that most industries are chasing right now. And there's going to be a lot of winners and losers in that race. But it's not just being first, but it's getting it right and doing it in a balanced approach of which tasks are most suitable for AI agent versus a real human expert who needs to verify, validate, or make sure it's done right. And so that's a delicate balance. In clinical trials, that balance is not always easy and obvious to find. And that's the art and science of developing AI agents. Many of these AI model providers, be it Claude, Gemini, or OpenAI, and Anthropic, and several other providers offer these models that enable us to develop AI agents. And so that's we have a unique approach to these AI agents, and it's a patent pending framework and technology that we
Oh,
are
okay.
building and working towards. So
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a number of AI agents that will be coming out with Jiva. But this year, we want to start with the most impactful agents that will do 20% of the task that's going to have 80% of the impact.
Amazing. Yeah, that's great. Those are good. Those are good percentages to play with, eh? Mm-hmm. So those are rolling out, and then those will be available through the Jiva platform. And they're just it's you're adding functionality to what's already there.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a premium add-on if they like to if they are short on staff, or even if not, they would rather use the staff for something more
Right.
intellectual. They can let the AI agents deal with the routine tasks, and the in-house staff can verify if the agents did right and make any corrections if necessary. But we don't expect these agents to make much mistakes, because we are only assigning simple repetitive tasks to these agents, and
Mm-hmm.
keeping the any tasks that do require human expertise are not something we want to push on an agent.
Right. Right. Good. That was great. Thank you for explaining the AI agent in your from your perspective, because we don't want anyone thinking there's some private 007s wandering around. um, and you said you are so right now you have companies using Jiva. Are
Absolutely.
you fully up and running? Are you still in? Yeah. So people are actually organizations are actually using the tool right now.
Absolutely. The clinical trials are running. We have about close to 15,000 active users on the platform,
Wow.
from
Wow.
about 20 different enterprises or organizations that have been our customers since inception, and about 15 partners and resellers of our software, like other CROs that utilize our platform versus the legacy systems in serving their clients. And so, yeah, yes, we have been out there in production and commercial use for a few years now.
Very good. So at what point, so I know you mentioned your brother and your newborn. Those were definitely some major losses that were part of the motivation for you to do this. Was there other areas of your work that was everything you did up till now kind of leading you personally to this place in
I
your
think so.
career?
It absolutely did. In terms of looking at the genomic and clinical data, it was very striking to me that a majority of the data is from the global north, and rest of the world is not well represented in the data sets. With be it molecular data, clinical data, or health information. A lot of the data in the low and middle income countries are still not digital. It's sitting either in paper, and even if it's digital, it's kind of PDF or images that's probably siloed and fragmented and distributed, some sitting with patients, some sitting in hospital records, and some nowhere. And so it's an opportunity for making clinical research and drug development more accessible to
Mm,
all people and the general population, so that it's not restricted to a 5% of the world's population, or 10%.
yeah, right.
And so, I am of Indian origin, Indian diaspora, and knowing that 15% of the world's population is Indian, whereas in drug development and clinical trials, only 1.2% of all trial participants are of Indian origin historically. And so,
Really.
while a good percentage of medical doctors, data engineers are Indian origin, patients are not in clinical trials.
Hmm.
And so, that's one kind of inspiration as well to address that massive inequity. And it's not just the Indian diaspora, it's a number of 90% of the world's population, actually.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, there's definitely imbalance there, and so the platform then is accessible globally.
it is.
Everyone can use it. multiple languages. It's all
Yes.
translated, everything.
Yeah, just because this was our mission and motto, we have put in the effort to make sure we support all the languages, make it easy
Incredible.
to support language translations. Over 100 languages are supported, and a professional translation company is partnered with us called Vista Tech. And so, where it's a regulatory sensitive document like an informed consent form, certified translation and back translation is a expectation of the regulators, and so we have
Amazing.
partnered with Vista Tech for that, and also ensuring rural populations, age, children, adolescent, elderly. Accessibility is very important, and then there is also remote engagement type tools like televisits, video visits, and ability to use any of their existing devices, so they don't need to buy an expensive device to participate from their home, and reduce the travel burden. For those that are already burdened with a disease, they may have different abilities and handicap, and we don't want them to always travel to the site when it's really not necessary. So sort of supporting that decentralized home-based trials as well as traditional trials as well, in all these different accessible language and remote patient setups.
Well, I mean, that just opens up to so much more data and information that,
Exactly.
when it's so, concentrated in one group of people, you're not really getting a really good array of information, are you?
Not exactly. And so that heterogeneity of the because disease manifests itself differently in different bodies, and so
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
a good understanding of how different populations are progressing naturally with a disease is critical, especially in rare diseases. These patient registries, natural history studies are critical hallmark and a prerequisite to have a well characterized data set, demonstrating from early onset to diagnosis to prognosis and all the from cradle to grave, what does the disease look like?
Right.
And that databases that characterize this information with the proper regulatory framework of obtaining informed consent from patients and capturing all the data without overly burdening the patients is
Right.
critical, and that's what our platform enables.
And then the opportunity for some of these people in really remote locations to have access to some of these, to be early adopters of these pharmaceuticals for treating conditions and diseases that they would never normally have access to, right, if they
That's
weren't
right.
living in a major heavily populated center.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, you have a lot of philanthropic activities going on in your life as well, right? That's a really important part of your leadership development, isn't it?
It has been, Heath, in that when you have a mission, certain activities fall under the realm of non-profit, philanthropic and charitable work. So I run this nonprofit called the Indo-US Organization for Rare Diseases, realizing that a lot of the investments and funding for biomedical research happens in the US and the Western world, whereas there's a huge patient population and amazing medical doctors community in India, which is not tapped into for new drug development.
Hmm.
While India is considered the pharmacy of the world with respect to APIs and manufacturing of generic drugs, patent expired drugs, for new drug development, which is where most rare diseases fall under, because 95% of rare diseases do not have an approved treatment. And so
Right.
patients in India and the rest of the world, they contact the nonprofit requesting for access or assistance on care navigation. How do we get a faster diagnosis? How do we access any approved treatments that may be available in US or other countries? So it's a free service that we provide and offer to
Hmm.
patients and families that contact us. In fact, I spoke with one family just this morning, requesting assistance for treatment.
Oh, that's amazing. And so that what is the process for them? Then they just submit application and it's you review them and
That's correct. Yeah. So there is a Indo-US rare.org. It's a website. They can go there under the programs. They will see a patient concierge on the top of that list, and they submit a form providing consent and sharing some information about their health condition, whether they have a diagnosis or symptoms, where they stand in the journey as of now, and provide information about what specific areas they need help with, whether it's obtaining a diagnosis, accessing treatment, enrolling in a clinical trial, or
mm,
financial assistance. And based on what information they provide and consent, we have a network of researchers, medical doctors, diagnostic labs, and patient advocacy groups that we can connect the individual family with, and also provide care navigation. And we partner with a crowdfunding platform which offers discount on their cut if they refer through our organization. So depending on where the patient journey is, we have the ability to connect them. We have a staff and virtual board of
yeah,
experts that review any complex cases, and we
amazing.
almost always have a way to provide some assistance and guidance on where they should go.
And how long has that been operating?
Since 2014, in
Oh
one
wow.
form or the other, and
Yeah.
now we have a staff, a formal team of members who are trained to provide this now, and so it's I am no longer critical to keep it operational.
It operates without you, right?
Yes.
That's great. That's where you want it to be. So it
Yeah.
must be the demand must be high.
It's growing more and more, mostly through referrals and sometimes through Google searches, and they run into this concierge and contact us directly by phone sometimes, and email, or the online form. And
Right.
yeah, so we have a process to route them in the right way and efficiently. And
You might
in
have to
fact,
bring
it's
some AI into you may have to bring some AI into that one of these
exactly. That's
days.
essentially it's the Jiva platform that empowers that concierge service also. And
Oh, is
so,
that right? Oh,
yeah.
okay. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So patients can submit the request in any language and from their own keyboards, from anywhere in the world, actually.
So in your professional career, is this your first company that you founded, or you've had a series of entrepreneurial
I
experiences,
have
haven't
been
you?
part of startups founded by other founders
Oh, okay.
in senior executive roles before this, at least two startups. One is genome.com, where I helped build a next generation DNA sequencing data analysis platform on the cloud
Wow.
as a software as a service. That got commercially launched and got the first few customers back in the days in between 2009 and 2012. And then I was part of Strand Life Sciences, which is a diagnostic, clinical diagnostic precision medicine company that analyzes multi-omic data, DNA, RNA, protein, cell,
Mm,
and provide a clinically actionable report for cancer and rare diseases. So that was
wow.
part of a startup launch. It's a CAP and CLIA accredited lab, which is College of American Pathologists and Clinical
Mm,
Laboratory Information Improvements Amendments Act, CLIA, which is essentially a lab developed test for diagnosis and providing recommendations on potential treatments for patients with cancer or rare disease. So, having launched several startup products, then I was consulting with Big Pharma, where I saw firsthand with top 10 pharma
right.
in the clinical R&D side, how the infrastructure was so expensive, complex, and broken, and
Right.
still they were investing more money in systems integration, data integration. That's a luxury that smaller biotech pharma companies do not have, and
Yeah,
rare
exactly.
diseases do not have that. They don't receive anywhere as much funding and investments. and nonprofit patient foundations can't afford that, and even the big pharma can't afford anymore.
No.
After the post-pandemic bust, now they had their ride, and now even the regulations, the pricing control, and a lot of the environment is very difficult for even big pharma. And so everyone is seeking efficiency and cost and time efficiency without compromising quality, compliance, and patient centricity. And having this well-rounded perspective, both from a personal patient family perspective as well as the technical perspective, propelled me put me in the right place at the right time, I guess, to make
Yeah.
this happen.
And it sounds like a bit of a passion for technology too, right? You seem to
Absolutely.
be drawn to that sort of side of things. Although you do have a doctor, you have a doctor in philosophy too, right?
That's right. I am a PhD in computational biology and bioinformatics from Virginia Tech. And so that's, although I started off as a computer science engineer and interned at Microsoft in Redmond, Washington, and
Oh,
that's
really?
what but core IT and core systems was not my thing. I needed the human element, and
Right.
so yeah, over the course of my career and personal journey, those things kind of came together.
Hmm. And then the philosophy piece, where did that fall in? How did what drew you to that?
Essentially, I fell in love with science, and engineering is what I did in my bachelor's, computer science engineering. But
Hmm.
science is freaking awesome. There's 100+ years of literature for biology, and so when I got I was considering whether I should pursue MBA or a science and philosophy career. And around that time, I had to make that choice. And what I was advised by sages is you can get MBA at any time in your career, but if you want to do it now as a student while you are still full-time student on a university campus, it's best to get a strong foundation in science. And so I when I had a research assistantship, I took it, and I first wanted to write a master's thesis to make sure I enjoy it, and I did. Mitochondrial DNA heteroplasmy. Mitochondria
Oh,
has
wow.
more than 100 years of scientific literature behind it, and so reading those thousands of articles and how the mitochondrial structure, mtDNA, was discovered, like a bacteria getting into the human cell and settling down in the cytoplasm, becoming an organelle in the body, it's just fascinating. So
Yeah. No kidding. It is. Sounds fascinating. Biology is very interesting, actually.
it
Yeah.
is, and
Yeah.
so the digital age of biology was just beginning. I came to United States in 2000, straight to Virginia Tech as a student, and that was the time when Human Genome Project was completed and genome sequencing was just, it was $1 billion to sequence, but the technology was there.
It was
Today,
there.
it's,
Yeah.
it's a few $100. You can swipe your credit card and
Unbelievable.
get
Yeah.
a whole genome sequence. And so the era of digital biology, digital medicine, computational biomedicine, that was fascinating to me, and I fell in love with that. And so that's what helped me complete the PhD fairly quickly, and came to NIH, fantastic place, absolutely top-notch scientists and medical researchers from all over the world who come to NIH. I had the opportunity to work at the Dr. Anand Swarup lab in the neurobiology, neurodegeneration, and repair lab, where mouse retina and human retina, donated eyeballs, those types of resources were available to study and understand how retinal diseases are caused, what
Hmm.
mutations drive the
Oh,
development of
interesting.
the
Wow.
retina.
Yeah.
And so that was another fascinating experience that I had. So as I realized, to really have an impact at scale, if I can help make these innovations that can bring new treatments to market faster in a patient-centric way, that I would have made a huge contribution. I'm not a biologist by training. I'm not a wet lab scientist. I'm all dry lab, in silico stuff. And so I had to pick something which I could spend a few years of my life making an impact on, and this fell in my lap.
Well, it sounds like a perfect fit. And now you're CEO at Jiva, and so that's a whole other role. And how do you manage that part of the job? I mean, you are it's a heavy burden, it's a heavy load to carry. So what do you do for yourself to kind of stay on top of all that you're responsible for?
Yeah, great question, Heath. And I absolutely love my job, although I have my down days and up days. But the thing I love the most about being a CEO or a founder is it challenges every aspect of my personality, right? It's not just my technical skills, my scientific skills, my business skills, my human skills, my interpersonal skills, my communication skills. You got to be on the top of your game, the best you could be every single day, every single meeting, every single moment. And you are leading by example, and your team members, your colleagues, your customers, your partners, your investors are taking cues from your body language, your how you feel, how you speak, what you say, and what setting the direction. And so having clarity of mind, constantly testing product market fit. Are we in the right direction? Is this what customers want? And if not, it could be major directional correction or fine tuning of the product features. So that it takes like right brain, left brain, whole brain, and being able to zoom into the
Back
nitty.
brain, front brain, takes it all.
And so that challenge is what I enjoy, because otherwise I usually I feel like I have gotten bored easily in my previous jobs. Not that they were not challenging, but they challenged only some parts of my brain, not as
Right.
much as I feel challenged now.
Not the whole thing. How do you keep it? How do you keep clarity? What do you do to recharge and stay so focused and current?
I wish I had a good answer for that question. But it's essentially being on your toes, and just knowing that I got to be on the top of my game every single day.
Yeah.
It's not usually possible to do that if unless you have a larger than life mission. And luckily for me, I have that. And that mission what drives me. It's like you are in the final lap of your marathon, and you can't give up at that last stage, right? And you feel
Yeah.
that way for I have been feeling that way for 6 years now, that I'm in the final lap.
The final lap.
But I don't know when that lap is going to complete. But but you know that it's worth completing that lap, and so you keep running and you keep pushing yourself, and wake up every day in the morning and feel like, yeah, you have a new opportunity, a new day, irrespective of how good or bad the last day was.
Mm-hmm. So if you have any advice for, someone in, not maybe going to be in your shoes one of these days, but maybe on course to doing what you're doing or something similar, is there any other advice as far as how to prepare for a role, the type of role that you are in?
My real advice is please don't do what I'm doing, because it's
I didn't expect that.
no, it's an honest answer. I don't think entrepreneurship is as rosy as it looks from the outside. It's a lot of sweat, blood, and tears. It's a lot of hard work, sacrifice, and all of that, and a lot of hard work. And you may or may not reap any benefit of all the hard work and effort and sacrifices. And so, unless you truly have a mission that you think you feel obligated to complete that mission, and you have real passion that, even if you failed, it was still a worthwhile journey to have taken, then maybe. But if not, it's not something that you would take on for any other reason.
Right. And I think, yeah, I mean, that you bring up a good point. It's something that drives you, that it's a passion, like you say, or some sort of vision or purpose that you just can't get out of your head. That really was what usually takes entrepreneurs down that path,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's something that they just can't explain. They just have to do it.
Yeah. And if you have
intrinsic.
already gotten that far and you really want to do it, then my couple pieces of advice would be: one, build a community. You can't do it all alone and yourself, no matter how smart you think you are. And I certainly have a huge number of people and the community to thank and support, including obviously family, but people who have no relation whatsoever, and strangers and people who we meet, prospects and customers who share their pain points, without any expectation during discovery interviews, and
Right.
strangers who just generally appreciate entrepreneurship and the hard work that entrepreneurs have to put in, and take mercy on us and help us. Right. And so there is having a community of supporters is absolute necessary. Without that, no entrepreneur can be successful. The second is be physically fit, and take care of yourself. Do whatever workout that suits you, but being physically fit is absolutely necessary, and mentally fit. So it goes hand in hand. So those would be two things I would highlight.
I think that's great advice. So I think you hit the nail on the head anyway. So Harsha, thank you so much for sharing your world with us and your career, and the work you're doing at Jeeva Clinicals is very exciting. I think it's great job. I'm excited for you and the future of the company. So again, thank you for spending your time with me today. And if people want to reach out to you or find you, what's the website, and where can they connect with you?
It's easy to find me on either LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn. If you search my name, Harsha Rajasimha, I suppose there's probably only one person with that name. But
Probably, yeah.
And the website for Jeeva Clinical Trials is jeevatrials.com. That's JEEVATRIALS, jeevatrials.com. And it was such a pleasure hanging out with you, Heath. It was a great conversation. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And I'll make sure all those contacts are in the show notes below, so they'll be able to track you down. So
sounds great.
Amazing. Great to meet you, and we'll talk again soon, I hope.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Man, this conversation with Harsha really shines a light on how much potential there is to improve clinical trials just by rethinking the process, and then, of course, bringing in an AI. It always helps. Blending that deep scientific knowledge with personal passion, and it's clear to me that his mission at Jiva is more than just technology. It's about making clinical research more inclusive, efficient, and human-centered. And his story is also a really good reminder for me that behind every innovation is usually some sort of deeply rooted personal drive. And that, with purpose, community, and resilience, are just as important as any tech stack. And he had some honest insights into what it really takes to be a mission-driven entrepreneur. Never bad to hear that. If this episode had resonated with you and you want to share it, please go ahead and don't forget to subscribe for more conversations about this crazy intersection of health science and technology. And stay healthy, and we will talk again soon. Thanks for listening.